Welcome to the Buck Brief. We have the early days of the Trump administration in waiting, in the making, to talk about here. The picks, the top level positions that are already being filled. I think this Trump administration 2.0 learned a lot of lessons from the first time around and is prepared to hit the ground running. I know every administration says that, but let me tell you why I feel this way. Let me tell you what I am seeing that strikes me as different in this respect. The people that they are picking and not picking is telling you a lot. Let me start with actually the second part, not picking. Pompeo, not in the administration. Now, look, Mike was always nice to me when he was in Trump administration 1. I think he did an okay job as no problems that I'm aware of, Secretary of State or CIA director. He was loyal to Trump then, but he ran against Trump, and he's an establishment guy, so Trump says he's out. Nikki Haley, Trump gave her a job, and then she ran against Trump. Trump, she worked in the Trump administration. That's not just, oh, I'm a Republican, I want to see if the people want it to be me. That's something else. That's a little more of an issue, I think, when it comes to loyalty. And so Trump said, sorry, Nikki Haley, you were great. He was very gracious about it. Probably so gracious. He was saying, Nikki Haley, she's amazing. But he decided that he wasn't going to allow her in the administration, bring her into the administration either. So that's a good thing. The latest is Lee Zeldin. That's the newest that I have seen added to the list of those picked by Trump. And I think this is really good. Lee Zeldin is a very sharp guy, and he did a great job running for governor of New York. I know he didn't win, but it's like running a Republican in California practically. It's very hard these days to overcome the built-in advantage that a Democrat has in a state like New York. So I think Lee deserved a lot of credit, and he probably, because of how well he ran that campaign in New York, helped bring a few congressional seats, particularly in Long Island in New York, across the line, and that may well have been a difference maker for the Republican majority. So Lee Zeldin's going to be the EPA administrator. Let's talk about this for a second, right? The EPA administrator is somebody who I think, first of all, I love that they were the bad guys in Ghostbusters. You remember that? I'm Walter Peck. And he's like, people believe they're seeing ghosts. Remember that whole thing, And he's like, I'm worried about violations of Section C-17, Part 3, Subsection 5. And, if you think about it, Ghostbusters is really a movie about plucky entrepreneurs building a small business. It's the American dream. And then the EPA comes in, and they're all, but the ghosts are going to create a nuclear disaster or whatever. So, point is, EPA has been an agency that has done a lot of harassing of the public and has gotten far too ideological for a long time. It is a perfect example of the kind of federal agency where there should be major changes made. Structural changes. First of all, I think it could probably be pared down dramatically. I don't even know how many personnel the EPA has. Only the people I think who work there know. No one pays attention to these kinds of things anymore. So I think it would be really helpful for the EPA to be a lot smaller, much more nimble, also more cost effective. But where you have to draw the line there, what you have to get really particularly deep on is the ideological rot of climate catastrophism that has spread through the EPA. That has become a big thing there. They want to be in the business, the EPA, of basically telling you what your emissions can be anywhere in the country. So it's not up to states, it's up to EPA. And this has tremendous impact on all these different businesses. And it's insane. CO2 is not a problem. We're fine. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be the problem that the catastrophists think it is. So he's got to go into an ideological stronghold of the left, the EPA, and lay it down. You know what I mean? Lay down the law. He's got to just say, you guys get on board or you're out of here. You're gone. Now, I think we can expect that if we do see a paring back of civil service positions in some of these places or an attempt to fire some civil servants in these places, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits, a lot of problems, a lot of challenges. They're not going to make this easy, but this is the urgent mission of the country right now to deal with the overwhelming size and scope of government. I'll just tell you, Naval Ravikant, one of my favorite follows on X. He put this out. What you're feeling isn't a temporary high. It's the relief from the crushing burden of the state, which was getting heavier by the day. I completely agree. I mean, that's his assessment of what's going on right now in the aftermath of the massive Trump victory. Talk here in a second about the fight over Senate leadership. It's looking pretty good for Senator Scott. We'll see. The vote's going to be Wednesday. We'll talk about this. You know, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave the Chaffins family the gift of a mortgage-free home. Police officer and canine handler Jacob Chaffins was fatally shot while attempting to serve warrants for domestic violence offenses. Jacob had a deep passion for helping others and making a difference in his community. His passion for his family, community, and for his first responder family will always be remembered. Jacob's wife, Savannah, will forever miss her brave and strong husband, but Savannah and their daughter, Paisley, are so grateful for the kindness of friends like you. Through Tunnel to Towers, the loss and hardship of heroes like Jacob is being turned into hope for their families. There's so much more to do to say thank you to our nation's heroes and their families for their immense sacrifices for us. Help Tunnel to Towers to lift these heroes and their families. Donate $11 a month at t2t.org. That's T2T.org. So now, my friends, what is going to happen in this Senate leadership battle? This is very important stuff because it is really difficult for the administration to pull off the kind of enormous changes that will be needed to governance if they don't have the right people in place. I mean, I think that Trump has 18 months to save Western civilization. That's really the way that this mission is set up. Trump has 18 months to tackle the deep state, turn around the massive regulatory behemoth that just grows with each and every year, and secure the border, deport a large portion of the illegals currently in the country and who have recently come to the country, all the criminal illegals who are here who have committed crimes. 18 months to save the country. Because then it turns into the midterm elections. Then it turns into who's going to take over. You know, we're going to have another presidential election starting in just over 2 years, really. That's when people are going to start to be positioning themselves for what's next. This is not an 8-year arc that Trump is on now. It's really, yes, it's 4 years in office, but it is 18 months where things can really get done and be changed. Because when people are going to the midterms, a lot of Republicans are going to be thinking not about what's best for the country, but what's best for their prospects politically of trying to win again. So that brings me to the Senate leadership situation. Now, here's where this is. As I talk to you, it's looking like there's a rallying effect around Senator Rick Scott out of Florida. And it's a good thing. He is the best guy for the job. I think that he's the one that would be the most in line with the Trump agenda. And I understand that there are some constitutional purists out there who might be saying, oh, but advising consent from the Senate is so important. We can't have recess appointments be a tool to get around that. Well, you know, advising consent with adults on the Democrat side is one thing. But if they're going to claim they need extra potty breaks and that, you know, that they got a headache and they can't do the hearing today and they're going to give the longest, most boring speeches imaginable to run the clock out so that Senate business can't get done. If they're going to effectively jam up the works, you know, sabotage the machinery just to be spiteful, which is what their plan had been and was. That's what they did in 2016. I don't see why Republicans have to play along with that. I don't know why Republicans need to play that game with them. So I am very sympathetic to the plan that some Republicans have put forward and Trump has put forward himself of, look, I got to get my people through. If there's any of this intransigence from Democrats or any games, we just got to have a Senate recess called by the Senate Majority Leader and have a bunch of recess appointments made. Because the most important time, you don't want to get your guy in there for commerce or treasury, or, whatever. You don't want that to happen. Veterans Affairs in June. Trump wants it right away. He wants the people in place to do what the American people voted for him to do. And so this is why you want Senator Rick Scott, and this is why recess appointments under the circumstances, I think, are – look, recess appointments have always been held to be valid. In fact, Barack Obama was slapped down 9-0 by the Supreme Court for doing recess appointments when the Senate wasn't in recess, but he said, yes, they are, so he made the appointments anyway. And what that meant was, no, the Senate is allowed to determine this, and they were holding these pro forma sessions where they kind of gavel in for 20 minutes, and it's just the whole thing is it's kind of officious. The whole thing is kind of a scam. I guess it's it's not illegal, it's not defrauding anybody, but it's just not really how it's meant to be. So it's playing a little fast and loose with the intent, certainly, of the advise and consent clause in the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 3, the president shall have the power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions, which shall expire at the end of their next session. So, again, you can put people in there, and if the Senate wants to do, now you have to go through, a vote process, all right, fine. But he wants them in there right away, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Sponsor here is Sabre. Look, crime is still a major problem in so many cities, so many places across the country. You want to be prepared for it, and protecting yourself and your family proactively is your best defense. That's why you need the Sabre Pepper Projectile Launcher. This Sabre home defense launcher is the leading non-lethal choice when it comes to protecting yourselves. Sabre also offers a full line of on-the-go pepper sprays, gels, and stun guns, backed by Sabre's maximum strength guarantee. They're the #1 pepper spray brand trusted by law enforcement. This month is dubbed Running Safety Month. It's meant to remind all of us to protect yourself if you're a road runner or helping the runner in your family with self-protection tools from Sabre. With shorter daylight hours, ensure they remain alert, check in often, and carry reliable protection. Join millions in trusting Sabre. Go to sabreradio.com, SABRE radio.com. That's sabreradio.com, or call 844-824-SAFE, 844-824-SAFE today. Oh, and then we get to the first agenda item. Let's say that the Senate confirms the Trump nominees for these different roles, which they're really supposed to do. The president's supposed to get the people he wants in the jobs, unless there's some criminal issue or something crazy. It's not supposed to be, I don't like you, I'm not voting for you, even though the president's appointing you. Because the president's just going to appoint somebody else you don't like. So what's the president has that power. The president's supposed to get his picks. So why squabble? Why quibble? Why do all that? Well, because Democrats are just so bitter about what has gone on here. But the area where I think there's the most need for a really squared away team that is ready to go, a really squared away team that knows what the agenda is and that they will go all in to accomplish it. To me, that's going to be on immigration, because the first major challenge that we are going to see, the first major challenge that we are going to face is on immigration and the deportations. So deportations that's going to require logistics. That's going to require political will. There are going to be challenges to this, but it has to happen. It has to happen because we need the rule of law in this country, or we are going to cease to have a country. And this has been clear for a long time to anyone who's honest and paying attention and knows what's going on at the border. Tom Homan as the ICE director, I think this is excellent. He's the guy that if Trump said to me, Buck, who do you think I should have in that role? I would have said Tom Homan. So very strong choice there. I also love having Stephen Miller as Deputy White House Chief of Staff, somebody who's excellent on the immigration issue, knows it backwards and forwards on all the games and the tricks that the left plays to try to pretend like they also want to secure the border, but they do not. So Tom Homan is going to oversee what will be a massive enterprise if they really try to do this, which is a substantial effort to deport illegals. They're going to start with anyone who has committed a crime, who is in custody anywhere in the country. I think that would be first. That's top of the list. So if you're an MS-13 gang member who's here illegally and, you are serving a sentence for attempted murder, and let's say you got, 10 years or something, as soon as you're done with that sentence, you're going back to wherever you came from. They're going to deport you. That's it. Illegal aliens who have committed crimes in addition to their illegality, that needs to be a non-existent. And people that have serious criminal records who are illegals, rapists, murderers, and there are thousands and thousands of them who have come into the country claiming they want asylum. They're never going to qualify for asylum. It's absurd. They have to go right away. So, we can create tiers here. You can create a situation where you're going to do what law enforcement always does, which is prioritizing some enforcement and tackling that first. So you start with that, and then I think you go to single adult males who have come here in the last 4 years, perhaps the last 6 years, depends on how you want to do the numbers. If you've just been here for a few years, sorry, you got to go, last in, first out, right? I mean, that's the way it's got to be. Sorry, you got to go. Tom Homan even said family units that have come here illegally in the last few years, there will not be child separation. The whole family will be deported together. Because people who have just arrived here and who are illegals, they have the least ties into the country, and they should be higher on the deportation priority list than people who have been here for 20 years illegally. Now, if we get to this point, if you get rid of all the criminals and the millions, and think about this, if it's just criminals and just millions of people who have come here illegally in the last few years, that's going to be a massive logistical undertaking. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's going to be massive, though. I mean, if you were to deport 2 or 3 million people, it would entirely, I'm talking about in a year, this would entirely change the game. Is it feasible? I think it is. There'll be a lot of flights, a lot of bus rides, a lot of stuff going on. But if you could get to, let's say, 2 million people deported in the first year, that would be a pretty good start. I mean, I should look at what the numbers are. I think it's usually in previous administrations before Biden just kicked the whole thing open, get a couple of 100,000 deportations a year, 100,000, maybe 200,000, and I've seen that before. So if you could get to 2 million, that would be really substantial. And it would also change the inflow. That's what's so important and powerful about massively increasing the deportation number. It's not about making it perfect. It's not about there'll be no illegals in the country or coming into the country. It's that it changes the incentive structure so people realize that they can't just game the system anymore. Okay? That's really critical in all of this. And I think that if they take this and they go and they are serious about it, by the way, it changed a lot of the pressures in the housing market. It's going to help in a lot of different employment markets. People are going to have to pay people the wages that our free market wages are supposed to be paid. Not paying people under the table, not letting the taxpayer fill in the gap of all the social services that new illegals who speak no English and have no skills and have no resources who come here are going to require. That's a big change. So this is all, they're lining up to do this, and this is the first promise that Trump has really made about what he's going to do. And I think it'll be remarkable if he gets it done. We'll talk about the libs melting down over this here in just a second. But if you had to guess the number of shooting ranges in our nation, what number comes to mind? More than 24,000. They're supported by gun owners, of course, individuals who see marksmanship and shooting as a sport. So it's no surprise that gun owners like me find your way to these ranges. And whether you bring a rifle or a handgun, it's a great way to spend your time, work on your skills, and enjoy your Second Amendment rights. But, it doesn't have to be that expensive. I know guns can be very expensive, but you can get a premium handgun for less than $500. Bear Creek Arsenal, manufacturer based in North Carolina. They've got a model called the Grizzly. And this is a gun that is so phenomenal out at the range. I've had my Grizzly so many times at the range now. Very accurate, very comfortable in your hands, easy to use, easy to clean, very durable. They also offer a full-size and compact Grizzly model for concealed carry. The 20-degree grip angle and improved grip texture makes this firearm incredibly comfortable to shoot. The Grizzly retails for $295 on BearCreekArsenal.com. Less than $300 for a really accurate, affordable handgun. Don't wait. Experience your new favorite handgun. Go to BearCreekArsenal.com. That's BearCreekArsenal.com.
Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate. For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, you know, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious. Well, if you thought he wasn't being serious, the appointment of Tom Homan today as Border Czar, and he will be in charge of a mass deportation program, the largest the country has ever seen, they say. And now Stephen Miller, as Deputy Chief of Staff, should let you know that he was absolutely serious. And when you talk about mass deportations, people think, oh, it's just going to be the criminals. There's not enough criminals, aliens in the federal prison system for it to be mass deportations. What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts. What it means is abuelos y abuelas. It means dreamers. It means your family members. It means your colleagues. It means your friends. It means people who are part of the society. And look, America, you know, those of you who voted for Trump, this is what you wanted. This is what you voted for. You screwed around and you're about to find out.
They are completely freaking out about the deportations over at The View, which is not a surprise, saying stuff like, oh, my gosh, he said he's going to deport people, and now he's actually going to deport them. Yes, of course he is. That's the whole point. He made promises to voters, and now, hopefully, he is going to keep those promises. Promises made, promises kept. And I think that this is a place where it should be very straightforward. Is he doing it or not? I think Trump is fully aware of the imperative to have these deportations, to change that incentive structure for coming to the country illegally. And the libs all freaking out about this stuff. They're going to freak out anyway. You know, maybe one of the great lessons of the first Trump administration, but also everything that's gone on with their efforts to stop him with the lawfare and everything else. Maybe one of the lessons they should take from this or we should take from this rather, is that they're going to freak out no matter what. They're going to say Trump is Hitler, that he's a monster, that he's all these terrible things. They'll never get on board. It doesn't matter what results he produces. They are so entrenched in Trump derangement syndrome. They hate this guy so much. So let's shake it up. Let's make some waves. Let's do the things that need to be done for this country to save this country. Because if you save America, you save Western civilization, you save the free world. That's the truth. If we fall, all of it falls. What, are you going to rely on Europe or on the UK? These people have no free speech rights. People getting locked up for internet memes. It's insane. Without America, without our holding up of liberty as an essential human practice and rule of law as the foundation for a good and free and decent society, although Democrats have tried to destroy that with all their lawfare, the whole thing begins to fall apart. So this Trump project, like I said, it's 18 months to save America, to save Western civilization. And I think they're really up for this. And another thing that we're going to help to save is the safety and security of the state of Israel. Trump is a great friend of Israel, and Israel needs its allies right now. This week marks one of the most consequential elections, or rather, this month marks one of the most consequential elections in our history. But the support of Americans like you for Israel and for the Jewish people is critical. That's why I'm a proud partner of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. They've been building bridges between Christians and Jews for over 40 years, and since that time, they've been on the ground helping the vulnerable and providing security for Jews in Israel. Thank you for your support during this critical time. Please continue with it. Go to supportifcj.org to learn more and make a donation. That's supportifcj.org or call 888-488-IFCJ. All right, that's the Buck Brief for today. Shields high.